Hi guys, happy Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? It is Tuesday. Doing some straight hair today. Got my hair done. They always make it straight. Always looks a little weird to me. Okay. Let's talk about mantras. So if you have studied meditation or even just practiced yoga, you may be familiar with the notion of a mantra, right? A mantra is something a phrase, usually a sentence that we use, that we repeat over and over to sort of bring us into the present moment and to solidify in our minds a certain concept, a certain belief, a certain intention that we want to carry with us, that we want to put out into the universe, that we want to be led and guided by, right? So here's the thing. Even if you don't work with a mantra, even if you don't meditate, you don't do yoga, maybe you've never even heard of a mantra, but you have them. You have mantras that you use in every area, every aspect of your life. You do. You have mantras around money and what you believe to be true about money. You have mantras around relationships and what you believe to be true about relationships. You have mantras about respect. You have mantras about generosity and compassion. You have mantras about all kinds of things. You have mantras about your health. You have a mantra about your health. Now, again, you might not even be aware of this, but there is some guiding principle. There is some belief. There is some statement that you believe to be true. There might be a few of them about all of these different aspects of your life, right? So if it's money, your mantras might be money's hard to come by. Money's the root of all evil. You have to work hard to make money. There's never enough. A penny saved is worth a penny earned or whatever. You have to spend money to make money, whatever it is, right? These are beliefs that you have probably had instilled in you from when you were a kid that you have carried on. And you might not, consciously say these things, but they're beliefs that you have and they loop in your mind and you reinforce them every day by looping them again because now you just believe these things to be true. And the more you believe them, the more you repeat them, the more true they seem, and the more you live by them, the more they guide you, the more they control the choices you make, the opportunities you reach for, the potential that you see, right? Do you see how this works? So you have mantras about your health. You do. You might not think that you do, but you do. So you believe things like, I'm not the kind of person who loves vegetables. I could never give up cheese. I could never run a marathon. I hate exercise. I don't have enough willpower. Losing weight is really hard. Keeping weight off is really hard. When you get older, it gets harder to lose weight, right? These are things that you believe to be true. And I'm not going to get into whether they are or not, but these are things. Hi, Carrie. These are things that you believe to be true. And again, they could be things that were instilled in you from when you were a kid, right? Things that maybe you heard your parents say. Maybe your mom said this stuff. Maybe, now it's probably reinforced by your friends. But what happens is when we believe these things, they become a mantra. They become a guiding principle. They become an intention that we are actually setting for ourselves. We repeat them. And again, you're not doing this consciously, but these are the beliefs that you have. And the more they are solidified within you, the more you believe them, the more you repeat them, the more you practice them, the more natural they feel, the more you seek out evidence that supports them, right? As human beings, our human brain really likes to be right? Our brains like to be right. We will sacrifice a lot of happiness and peace and calm just to be right? And I remember, I'm not a huge fan of Dr. Phil, but I do remember when he started his show, I remember watching an early episode and I remember him saying to people, you can be right or you can be happy. You can't usually be both, right? Often we can't be both. But very often people will choose being right over just about anything. We like to be right. Our brains like to be right. And again, it's not a sort of necessarily like a narcissistic or a selfish or like I am always right kind of thing. It's just that it's actually the way our brains are wired. Our brains like to assess a situation, draw a conclusion, and then see that played out, right? If we're challenged, if we have to admit that something else might be true, that we were wrong, it's a little bit frightening for our brain, right? Brain doesn't like change. The brain likes to stay the course. This is what we believe to be true. This is the path we're going on. So we're going to look for evidence that supports that shows that we're right. And we ignore evidence that shows something different. And again, you're not doing this consciously, right? It's not like we're consciously saying like, no, I'm going to be right about everything. And so I'm not going to even entertain anything that might be different. That's not it at all. You might really wish that the things you believe to be true about your health weren't true. You might really wish that, right? You might really wish you were the kind of person that could run a marathon, but you just know that you aren't. Do you see how that's a limiting belief? And it's actually become a mantra, a health mantra that you have, that I'm not the kind of person that runs a marathon. Of course you are. There are people with no legs who run marathons, right? There are people there are people that 80, 90, 110-year-old people that run marathons. There are children that run marathons. There are blind people who run marathons, right? Like, you are absolutely the kind of person who runs a marathon. But you may have a belief in your mind that I'm just not the kind of person who could ever do that, right? I have bad knees. I hate exercise. I'm too out of shape. I don't have the commitment to train for something like that. But these are all just mantras. These are all just beliefs that you have. The dangerous thing about these kinds of health mantras is that they begin to create a structure, a prison, if you will, around us, around what we believe to be capable, what we believe to be possible for ourselves, right? And they start to cut off options. They start to close doors for us around what we could accomplish in our lives and who we actually are, right? The things that we could, the impact we could have, the changes we could make in the world, the people we could influence, the world we could change. Hi, Tammy. When we really internalize and believe and continue to practice and don't challenge, don't explore and get curious about and challenge these mantras that are really running the show, right? They're really determining how far you can go and what you can accomplish. When we don't question them, analyze them, shine a light on them, break them down, they really begin to limit us in terms of what we can do because we start to believe them. And that is a dangerous place to be. So you have a health mantra. You probably have several of them. And I would love to challenge you today to start to examine what those might be for you, right? Where are you setting up belief systems, stories, narratives, if you will, about your health, your body, what you're capable of, what's easy, what's hard, what you like and what you don't like, what comes natural to you and what doesn't, right? These are all mantras. They're all stories, limiting beliefs, whatever you want to call them, but they're all up here. They're all up here, which means that you can change them, right? Yay. So, but you can't change what you don't acknowledge, what you don't see, what you're not aware of. And that's often the place we're at right now, right? Often these mantras, these beliefs, they are really running the show and they are deciding what's going to happen for us and what we're going to do and what we're going to achieve and what we're going to impact and how we're going to show up in the world and how we're going to impact people and how we're going to impact our community and our society and our planet. And we don't want that, right? We don't want this stuff to be deciding that, especially when it's holding us back to a fraction of what we could be. So the first step is really to just become aware of them, right? Really become aware of what do you believe to be true about yourself and be willing to be wrong about it. Be willing to be wrong about it. Be willing to question it, right? Shine a light on it, investigate it. Ask, is this true? Is this true? Can I know for sure that this is true? Does the possibility even exist that something else could be true? Does the possibility exist that something else could be true? Hi, Jessica. And another great question, who would I be or how would I feel? How would it feel if I didn't believe this? Right? How would it feel if I didn't believe this? If this was just gone? If I didn't believe that I'm not the kind of person who runs a marathon, if I didn't believe that at all, how would that feel? How would I change as a person? What would that open up for me? Right? Maybe that's not of interest to you, but any belief that you have, you can work these questions on and challenge and push and break down and unpack, right? And when you do that, you start to exponentially explode the potential that you have in your life and what's possible for you, right? Maybe it's not hard to eat healthy. Maybe you do love vegetables. Maybe you do love lentils. Maybe you could run a marathon. Maybe you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Maybe that's entirely possible for you. Maybe you're totally the kind of person who would do that, right? Like, we need to start thinking bigger and not allow these mantras, these old limiting beliefs, these old stories, these old narratives that are all up here. We need to start breaking those apart, challenging those, unpacking those so that they're not running the show anymore, so that we can decide what we get to do and what's possible for us and what our potential is, right? Because I promise you, it's way bigger than what those mantras think it is. Okay, so that's my challenge for you today. I really want you to think about, where do you have health mantras that are holding you back? And again, it's tricky because they feel like it's just true. Like, no, Sarah, I'm really not the kind of person who could run a marathon. Like, I have really bad knees. But again, I'm telling you, there are people in wheelchairs who run marathons. I mean, they don't run marathons, but they finish marathons, right? Like, we see stories about this all the time. You can do anything. You really can. So that's just a belief that you're not the kind of person who runs a marathon, right? I hate beans, whatever, right? That's just a story. It's just a story. Have you tried all the beans? Have you tried every recipe of beans? Have you tried every which way that beans could possibly be prepared in the world? And you know for sure that you've tried every single one and there's not a single one that was at all delicious to you? No, right? Probably not. So you don't know that that's true. You don't know that that's true. And the possibility does exist that something else could be true, right? So this is how we start to break down these old limiting beliefs, these old health mantras. We figure them out, figure out where they're keeping us stuck, where they're keeping us limited, where they're pushing us down, and start to explore what the alternative could be, right? What's really possible for you? Because once you start changing that and you create a new mantra for yourself, right? You create new mantras. I am the kind of person who does a marathon, right? I'm the kind of person who wins a marathon, right? Like that, you start to program that into your brain, start to practice that, start to get that on a loop, right? Start to get that on a loop and see what happens. See how your life changes. See how the doors go flying open. See how all kinds of other things suddenly seem possible. Okay? So I would love for you to work on this. A little bit of a challenge for you. Post below in the comments if you want to share what you think maybe some of your health mantras, your limiting health mantras might be, and maybe what you're going to do to change those and a new mantra you want for yourself. Okay? Have a good day, guys. Have a good day, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.